Hey everyone, it's Sarah with Courageous Color, and today I'm going to show you how I deal with grief. So some people say there are 5 stages of grief, and others say there are 7 stages. So I want to sort of go through those stages with you in this painting and show you how you can use expressive art or expressionism to handle grief. The first 2 stages of grief are shock and denial. So I'm showing you here with these black lines. They're representing death. They're representing an end and the shock that that causes for the person who is dealing with that, who might be surprised by that, who is possibly denying that this is happening. And this could be grief that you're dealing with over a death or just over the end of something. It could be a relationship, or just something that you truly loved. And so I've heard it explained that grief is love that you can no longer give. And when we're in that place that we want to still give our love, but we can't, we are shocked. It is messy. We are in denial. And for me personally, I was in a situation once where I found out sort of by accident that someone had died, and it was like a sting. It hurt. And so that's why I'm painting these sort of really stabbing, straight downward facing lines, because just to show that sting and that hurt, and furthermore this dark place that you get into, where you just really cannot deal with the reality of the situation. And hopefully things will get better with time. They usually do. But it is very normal to experience shock and denial when you first find out about something that is grieving you, when you first find out about a death or the end of something. It's totally normal. You're not alone. And so I'm not just using black, but also white, and that really shows the contrast and the shock and the difference between reality and what we want. So the next stage of grief is anger. So we move from a place of shock or denial into a place of being frustrated and having a lot of bottled up emotions, a lot of things that we can't express. And so it's like, we're just so aggravated and so frustrated and angry. And mostly because we don't have control over the situation. Mostly because we can't change it. And so for me, I know personally, I can become very angry. I can become very upset about how others in my life are handling what I'm going through. So, you're sitting there and you may be dealing with a loss and you're grieving, and at the same time, you might be getting advice. You might be getting nothing at all. I mean, you could want to have control over what happens next and the plans, and maybe you don't have that control. And so there's a lot of things that you can be angry about in that place. And so I feel like this red and the scratchy lines and using the palette knife in this way just takes all that anger and helps me to process it on a canvas instead of taking it out on somebody else, and especially somebody else who might also be grieving. So I want to encourage you to use your creative outlets and get some paint, get a canvas, get some paper and markers. And, who cares if you destroy the markers? Who cares if, you grind the crayon all the way into the paper? As long as you're getting out the emotions that are inside of you and you're working through those stages of grief, that's what really matters. And to keep it bottled up and to keep it inside and to not be able to communicate that with other people is going to make you feel worse. And so I just want to encourage you to do something. You don't have to copy what I'm doing here. You can identify with your own colors. If you want to paint or draw a river because you feel like you've just been crying your eyes out, then that's what you need to do. But I would definitely encourage you to use your creative outlet, get whatever supplies that you need, and just start creating something from what is within you. So I'm using green because the next stage of grief is bargaining. And when I thought of bargaining, I really thought of like a bargaining chip. and a chip that is like green and white. And it also just represented the healing process. So each step and each stage in grief helps you heal, even though it hurts. Every time you move on to the next stage, you are healing. And when you're bargaining, you're seeking for a way out. You're sort of making deals in your head. And so that also reminded me of green. That felt like a green emotion. In the first few stages of grief, we are trying our best to fix the situation. We're trying to handle it. And the next stage after bargaining is depression. A lot of times we experience depression because we realize that what we're going through is something that's inevitable. There is not much we can do about it. So as humans, we try to fix, we try to find a solution, and when there isn't one, we are just plain sad. And so I'm using gray and sort of just random lines here to blend these stages together and these feelings together. And these upward lines are just creating this feeling that you're looking up from like the bottom of the pit. And just everything feels messy. There's nothing that you can do. And you realize that you have come a long way since maybe you first found out about this or since it first happened. And the anger has subsided, the frustration has subsided, and now you're just in a very sad place. And so at each stage of this, if you are painting your way through these stages right now in a situation of grief, I would encourage you to not jump ahead, but just paint the stage that you are in and then let that painting dry. And then when you reach the next stage and you're really feeling that next stage, then go ahead and do that. For me, for this painting, I was channeling a few different memories that I sometimes dwell on, because there are times even in the future when we feel better that we still wish we could control what happened in the past. And so I wanted to work my way through this painting to see if I could try to get some of those memories to just quit bugging me, you know? And when we're dealing with grief and the stages of grief, the transitions from one stage to the next is not clean cut. It is messy and it is deep. And especially if you're experiencing depression, you're not just going to jump right from depression into the next stages. You're probably going to do what's called testing. You're going to try to seek solutions from the real world. You're going to try to be happy one day, and then maybe one day is just really bad. And so you're going to have a couple of good days. You're going to have moments of peace and feeling like you could do something to always remember this person. I know for me, when I was in high school, my great-grandmother passed away, and I decided to get perfect attendance to honor her. And so these are kind of like the little deals that we make with ourselves and the little ways that we find that we can move forward. And so acceptance doesn't just happen right away, but it happens over time. And so when you come out of that situation, it can be still sad, still dark, with moments of peace. And that's really what I'm trying to accomplish right now with this painting, where it comes from a really dark blue and then into a lighter blue. And it's messy. It's not like this beautiful picture, but it is 100% expressive and expressionism. So, I mean, that's what makes it beautiful. So I mentioned that while going through this painting, I'm dealing with a couple of different memories of grief that have been bothering me. And as I was going through and painting, I realized that I was really hung up in this depression stage. I don't think I really dealt with it the best way that I could have, or I didn't feel like I got my emotions completely expressed in this area. And I think that that happens to us as people. We kind of go back and forth. You know, one day we'll be happy and the next day we'll be sad. And so we got to deal with it. And so I'm going to add a few more things in here that just really help me deal with the sadness and the fact that I can't change what's happening. because I feel like those are the things that bug me the most about grief. So I'm just going to keep layering these dark grays and blacks and blues until I feel like it really expresses how bothered I am, how sad things make me feel. These memories are sort of haunting in a way, and so it's messy and blurry. And I think it makes a lot of sense to leave that all out there on the canvas. And once I did, I realized that even though there are a lot of things inside of these memories and these feelings and all this grief that happens, there's so many things inside of there that are negative, that are sad, that are dark. But, you know, there's another point that you get to eventually when you talk about the person or the relationship or the event, whatever it is that's causing you grief, and you start to have peace over it. Eventually, if it's a person, you laugh at the jokes that they used to tell, and you remember all the good memories. You focus on the funny things that they did or the silly clothes that they wore. And so I wanted to find a way to express that peace and how it sort of washes over all of the messiness. And I also want this painting to come together in a way that I can look at it and live with it and have it remind me that I've been through it and I'll get through it. And even when things bother me and the memories come up, it'll be okay. And so I'm covering some of this, the older stages here, with this new blue, peaceful, gentle color. Not the whole painting, because I don't want to erase everything that I've been through, but I want to show myself that I can cover those just negative, defeating emotions with peace and with acceptance and with just a brighter future and a way to move forward. So the last thing I want to do is just add some motion to this, because I feel like the grief we experience doesn't really ever end, but it carries us into the next phase of our life and the next way to deal with another grief in the future. And so I wanted something that looked a little bit like water and had a flow to it. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and turn on notifications to see videos as soon as they are uploaded. Visit courageouscolor.com.